Lieutenant George and Sheriff Moore.
Since Dave broke this, I'll be really careful with it.
Sorry.
Alright, I'm Phil George, Lieutenant, manage the Mountain House deputies that are out here. First, I'd like to introduce a couple new officers that's going to be here with Mountain House. Deputy Joe Wright, how you doing, Joe? He's been here about a month now. He works swing shift, and he'll be patrolling your streets here. Standing next to him is Sergeant Jason Whelan. Jason will become the supervisor over the deputies here in Mountain House in January. He'll be replacing Sergeant Sgt Petty, who is moving up to internal affairs, and the people we don't like. But it's good for Jared to move up, and Jason's going to be a good addition to Mountain House. With that, I'm going to speak a little bit about some uptick of criminal activity that's been occurring in Mountain House over the last month. One of them is Cadillac converters thefts from your vehicles. Anybody been a victim here? What kind of car do you drive in?
Sequoia. Toyota Sequoia.
Okay. The four-wheel drive Toyotas, the pickups, hot vehicle for your Cadillac converter to be stolen. Okay. The second most is the diesel trucks, the pickup trucks that are in diesel fuel. I'm not talking about the giant ones, just your regular pickup trucks, your 1500s and 2500s. So if you own those, your odds of getting your Cadillac converter stolen goes up quite a bit. Here in Mountain House, like I say, over the last month, that those crimes went up. Things you can do about it is there are all kinds of aftermarket products out there that you can basically lock your Cadillac converter to your vehicle. They range from $100 to $300 to do that. That's up to you if you want to do that. It's hard for us because we'll stop a vehicle that'll have 5 or 6 Cadillac converters in it, but there's no serial numbers on them. There's no way for us to tell which vehicle they came out of. So, how do we do that? And there's a couple ways of doing it. Owner applied numbers, which means you can apply your own number to it, your driver's license number. The best way is to put your license tag number on your Cadillac converter. Now you say, how can I get under my Toyota and do that? Well, recently, actually Jason Whelan was heading it through Sheriff Moore, as we partnered with Les Schwab Tires, and we ran a campaign where you could take your vehicles and they put it up on the rack and they would engrave the license plate of the vehicle on your Cadillac converter. What that does for us is we stop that vehicle that has a trunk full of Cadillac converters. Now at least we can run the number on it, we can find the victim, so then now we have a crime that we can charge. Okay. Other things, park your vehicles in the lighted area, put them in the garage if you have that room, those type of things. Second thing is residential burglaries here in Mountain House. In the last month, they've went up quite a bit too. Blame it on the economy, whatever you want to blame it on, but it's up, and we've been running some special operations out here in Mountain House trying to catch the culprits to that. After the meeting, I have some pictures I'll have over my desk of a couple suspects in their vehicle that we believe are responsible for at least 3 of the residential burglaries. We're still trying to ID them who they are. So if you please come over and take a look, you might know them. Hopefully they're not your neighbor or your sister or your brother, but if you do, I'd be happy to know who they are. With that, UPS, FedEx packages during Christmas time here, everybody orders. It's easy to do Christmas shopping that way. I just had a package delivered to my house today, and it came by a big truck, and the guy was just going to leave it out in front of my house. I said, can't do that. Well, I'm not supposed to bring it inside the gate. I'm going to bring it in the gate. So what I'm saying is, if you know your packages are coming, you can have them held at UPS so you can get them. If you know you're not going to be home, have a neighbor pick them up for you. Stuff like that, so they're not sitting on your front porch or on the street if it's just a freight drop. That crime of opportunity, the people come by and taking it for you, and now they have the nicer Christmas than you do. So just some common sense things. With that, going through the crime stats, there was some I put back there. I have some at my table. One thing I like to see in there is the suspicious persons calls. That means you guys are calling us, letting us know that you're seeing people that are suspicious. That's really good. You have to call. If we don't know what's going on, then we can't help. And we can't do our job without you guys. I mean, you are eyes and ears, and you're the reason we catch people. Very rarely do we, catch them on our own. It's the public who does that for us. So please call. We'll take every call. We won't think it's silly. Even if it's the 70-year-old lady walking down the street, you think she's suspicious, for whatever reason, call. We'll come and talk to her and get her home where she's supposed to be, or whatever. She's maybe lost. But call. We will come. With that, after this, I'll be at the table over here for any questions or whatever. I'd like to introduce Sheriff of San Joaquin County, Steve Moore.
Thank you, Philip, and I'll tell Sgt Petty you don't like him anymore. Good evening, everybody. First thing, Philip, you will have to do is that is no longer what a Mountain House police or sheriff's car looks like. We've now added the new logo, which now has the seal from Mountain House Community that's on the top of your agenda, so you know that specifically looks at. We've made them all look the same, and each, whether it's a sheriff's car or the Mountain House or City of Lathrop, the logos are all the same size, 14 inches, so they all look uniform, but it is identifiable to your community. Two things I wanted to cover really clearly. One, I was having a discussion with some folks at the end of the last meeting over animal services. And I am not happy with the level of service that we are providing to you through animal services. We are working on it. We are fully cognizant it is not making you happy, and it's not making us happy. We've had to make some changes in the fact that we want to expand. When I took over animal services, they were only working 5 days a week, and then they were only on emergency call-outs on the weekends and evening hours. So we've now changed the process. We're going to be deploying them 7 days a week. They will be on 10-hour shifts, and they will be working in splits, so that we're trying to cover between 8 in the morning and at least 8 in the evening to start with, until we get a better understanding of where the calls for service are and where we need to shift the staff. Now, that was planned to come into place here next month, but unfortunately we've now suffered a little bit of a setback in that one gentleman has just resigned to take a position with the City of Stockton as a supervisor for more pay in their animal services, and another one has just taken or given us notice that he intends to leave because he's going to go to work in Brentwood. So we are currently have an active list for hiring, and we are putting people through background, so it may take us a little bit longer to get into that shift deployment, but we will be doing that as soon as we possibly can, and again trying to make sure that we provide a higher level of services on animal services calls. The next thing is that with the holidays coming on, as Lieutenant George has indicated, you guys can't call us enough, okay? When you guys call, that gives us the ability to see by geography through crime analysis where things are happening. And when that goes on, then that allows Lieutenant George to say, okay, I need to bring in the special CSET team, I need to bring in an operation, I need to bring in the extra deputies to help us solve the problems that are being displayed through crime analysis. And the best thing for that in Mountain House is you get that service at no additional cost. All that is provided to you through the contract that was put in place in 2004, along with all the other services that contract calls for. Like at this point, there is no additional charge to you for our dispatch services, the services of detectives, evidence technicians, all the other myriad services that go with that are not part of the charges that Mountain House has to cover. So we are cognizant of that. We are looking forward to a continued long relationship, but the biggest thing is you got to call us. Okay? Any questions of me?
Yes. Sheriff Moore, can you address, you had a program where you gave clubs to communities, the theft prevention clubs for cars that are frequently stolen. Is that program still active, or is it going to become active again, and can we get on it? Okay.
The program is still active. Lieutenant George will be able to get you those if you want to contact him or any of the other Mountain House people that are working out here, deputies out here. talk to them. Now, the original program was through the Auto Theft Task Force, and that's how they were financed and paid for. And we're specifically targeted to specific vehicles. I don't recall the name specifically, but you can contact them and make that available, or you can call Patrol Division, and the Patrol Secretary has that information. So those are available to you to be able to be distributed for you. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Sure. When you say animal services, what type of animals are you referring to?
Well, okay, County Animal Services, which I'm now responsible for, is mostly domesticated animals. We do not handle wildlife. We don't handle wild animals. That being said, if somebody's being held in their house by something, we'll come out, we'll do what we can. We will also attempt to get state wildlife officials out to handle some of those things. I don't know, I've never had to deal with a angry beaver, or I've never had to deal with an upset otter. But if that is causing problems for the neighborhood, we'll see what we can do to work with that. But our responsibility is mostly for domesticated animals.
The biggest problem here is raccoons.
Is that?
The biggest problem here is raccoons.
Okay. Well, raccoons, again, are also indigenous animals, and they are not necessarily part of what we're doing. But we would be more than willing to work with the community, to work with the state wildlife group to see about relocating certain offending raccoons because they tend to get very intelligent about what they can do. One story I can tell you, my wife teaches school, and she goes to Camp Jones Gulch every year for science camp with her 6th grade class. Well, she loves Cheetos. She bought a big old bag of Cheetos. Well, they went out to a nature walk, and when they came back into her little cabin, there was orange Cheeto dust everywhere, along with all these little paw prints, because the raccoons had gotten in and helped themselves to the Cheetos. But the nice thing was they did rinse their hands and everything before they were done. So, thank you.
Oh, wait, one more thing.
Yes.
Sheriff Moore, what's the name of your Delta Auto?
It's called Delta RAP, but it's the Regional Auto Theft Task Force.
I just want to point out, and Sheriff Moore did point it out, one of the young couple in our community who had their vehicle stolen, through the efforts of our sheriff and his task force, the auto was returned to the family through good old-fashioned police work. So thank you, Sheriff Moore.
Thank you.
Thank you to all the members of the Sheriff's Department. And now we're going to hear from the other public safety group that's here tonight and our fire department.
Good evening. Bear with me if these glasses are new, and when I have them on, I can't see you, and when I take them off, I can't read, so I'm trying to talk through this. I'm Captain McMahon from the Mountain House Fire Station. I have with me my regular Mountain House crew. On the left is Engineer Ben Marino. He's my driver. And next to Ben is my firefighter paramedic, and that's Wesley Gephardt. I was tasked tonight to speak with you briefly on some holiday fire safety, which is kind of keeping in theme with the public safety tonight about the holidays. When most people think of the holidays, they think of family getting together and having festive cheer and stuff like that. But we at the fire department think of fires because it's a very busy time this time of year for fires because we have a lot of fires that don't normally happen throughout the year. And that's mainly in the holidays. Those type of fires are cooking, Christmas trees, candles, and holiday decorations. And by taking some simple preventive steps and using some good rules of thumb, you can prevent most of those home fires. Cooking is the #1 cause of home fires and fire injuries in the home. And in the holidays, there's sometimes people are cooking things they don't normally cook, or they're cooking that turkey for the one time a year and they forget little simple things. Some people, it might be their turn, so it's every 5th year they cook a turkey. So oftentimes I'll put the turkey in, it might take 6 hours, and then they kind of forget about it. Another big problem we have this time of year is turkey fryers. Does anybody fry their turkeys? Okay, very important to read the directions. There's a lot of problems. We hate turkey fryers. It's a large quantity of very hot oil, which when heated to a certain temperature, the fumes can ignite. That's one problem. A lot of people think they know what they're doing. They fill it up with the 4 gallons of oil or whatever it takes, and it's really only supposed to take 2.5. But it looks like it's not full, but when they put the turkey in, all the oil spills over, and right below that is what? A hot flame, and then they panic and it gets tipped over, and then we every year go to at least one turkey fryer fire or an injury. So that's kind of the new thing. People are using them, and people aren't really understanding exactly how they work. Excuse me. When cooking, you want to stay in the kitchen for the most part. There's a lot of things going on. You're usually using all of your ovens and stovetops if you're having a big party. Just things you're not typically used to. You want to make it a kid-free zone where you want to try and keep kids out of the kitchen because there might be things they're unfamiliar with. You might be using hot plates. There might be electric knives on the counter. Just certain things where they normally can put their hands and not get burned. There might be some things that they need to be aware of. Also, if you have people in your kitchen that don't normally cook with you, that might not have kids, that don't have the rules of always turning the pot handles inward, so nobody can come by and grab them. If they're in your kitchen, just kind of educate them. Say, hey, this is how we do it here. So a kid, because it's devastating burns. We've seen kids that pull down a hot boiling pot of water or some type of liquid, and it's terrible to see. So it's really important that we educate our family members or our guests when we're cooking in the kitchen. Now, if you do have a kitchen fire, get out. Get out, importantly, close the door. As soon as you get outside, call 911. Those 3 things are going to make everybody safe and get a quick action on your house fire. Now, if you do choose to try and fight the fire, make sure it's small enough and that you're equipped with it. If you have a grease fire, which is typically the most popular kitchen fire, don't put water on it. Has anybody ever seen what happens when water and grease mix? All it's going to do is splash all the grease and wherever that water would go, and so then you have several small fires instead of one fire in the pot. The old wives' tale is just pour baking soda on it. Well, in order to do that, you have to put your hand right over the fire, and baking soda, you're never going to have enough to put out the size of the container that's burning. So what we recommend is turn the heat off, take the lid that you should probably have nearby anyways, and just slip it over the top. From one side, just slip the lid over, wait for it to cool down, and then take it outside. But don't pour water on it, and don't try and grab it and run with it. We've seen a lot of fires, they just throw a fire throughout their house by running through their house with a hot pan and stripping fire all across the house. So if you do have a fire extinguisher, know how to use it. I've seen fire extinguishers with the handle broken and they said, well, it didn't work. Well, there's a little pin you have to pull out first before you squeeze. That person squeezed and just snapped the handle and still have the pin in it. So there's very simple directions on your fire extinguisher, so just make sure that you know how to use it and have it somewhere nearby where you can get to it. Candles are probably the most common cause of home fires in the holiday season. Now, for every well, let me back up a second. We need to pay more attention to candles. So a lot of times candles, there's Christmas candles that come out every Christmas. You might have had them 20 years, they might be 20 years old. They're not built the same way. Time they break down. Throw those candles away and buy new candles. You just have to be very, very careful with candles. You don't want to have a child alone in a room with a candle. Sometimes they get fascinated by the flame and they want to see what it can do. And you also, if you have pets, if you're not used to having candles sitting on a coffee table or something like that, you might have a pet that comes by and knocks it over with their tail, and before you know it, you can have a small problem turn into a very big problem. And you know what, nowadays they make some really nice flameless candles that kind of flicker. They're very safe, they last forever, and they actually make it now that they kind of smell like candles. So that's a good alternative if you want to have a lot of festive candles in your house. So a lot of people this year are going to have Christmas trees. Who has real Christmas trees every year? Okay, the number's going down every year. Who has fake Christmas trees? All right, that's good. Fake Christmas trees are a lot safer than the real trees. There's a lot of issues with the real trees that people don't always take into consideration. Like if you do get a real tree, take it off the stand. A lot of times you'll see a tree in the street that somebody had for their house and it's still got the wood planks on it. That tree never got a drop of water and was probably ready to burn 2 days in the house. So when selecting a tree, make sure that there's no dry needles. You can do the drop test, drop it a few times, and if there's more needles on the ground than on the tree, you should probably try and find a needle tree. If you do buy a fresh tree, make sure when you get it home, put a fresh cut on it. Cut about 1 inch or 2 off the bottom, and then add water to it immediately. And then what you're going to find is later that day, you're going to have to add water to it again. Some of those live trees will drink their whatever their container is. They can drink 2 of those in a day. So reach in there with your finger and feel, and you might need to add that much water. I had a really nice video that Glenn and I couldn't just get to work, but it showed, there was 2 videos. One showed the difference between a tree that was watered constantly every day and one that received no water. And then they lit a small fire in both of them, and one tree was fully involved in less than a minute. And the other tree hadn't even started to burn yet. So it was a very eye-opening video to see. So if you do get a fake tree, just remember to keep it watered. Now, Christmas tree fires that happen throughout this Christmas season or the holiday season, for every 40 fires, there's 1 death because they're so rapid. In comparison to the rest of the year, any type of structure fire in a home, there's 1 death per every 142 fires. So 40 versus 142. What happens is the tree gets so hot so fast and it preheats everything else in the room and it just takes off in less than a minute. You're going to have that, whatever room that tree is in, is going to be fully involved, as with all the presents and everything else that's in the room. That's all so much more flammable. When you have a tree, regardless if it's real or artificial, make sure that it's not near a heating source. Does anybody here have a fireplace in Mountain House? Really? Okay, there are some fireplaces. Gas, okay, but still, they do put off heat, and they can be uncontrolled at times if there's something goes wrong with the regulator. So make sure that you don't have a tree next to a heating source, whether it be a bright light, the fireplace, the heater vent. Excuse me. And make sure that it's not near an exit. Make sure that you can get out, and not just for your tree, but when you start putting presents around it, make sure that if there is an emergency in that house, that everybody can get out safely, and it's not going to be blocking a doorway or a window. Let's see, I think that is about, when you get rid of your tree, I think that the company out here, the Delta Disposal, I think they have a recycle program. You just leave it in the street and they collect it, correct?
Right.
Yeah, that's the safest way to do it. We actually had a fire one time a few years back where the guy took his tree and he wanted to dispose of it, so he stuck the entire tree in his fireplace, kind of stuffed it in there and up the chimney, and then lit it. So he got what he deserved. He got his house on fire because it started a chimney fire, which then started in his rafters. So obviously that's not what most people do, so just dispose of your tree properly. And right after the holidays, get it out, because even if it's been watered, it's going to start to dry out. So it's really important to take your decorations off, get it out in the street, and keep an eye on it until they come and take it away. Does anybody have any questions about any holiday fire safety or the fire department in general? Yes, sir.
What's mainly causing those tree fires? The lights or?
50% of the causes in holiday tree fires are electrical, faulty electrical, and one quarter of that is next to a heat source. So 50% is some type of electrical problem. 25% is that it's near a heat source, and then the other 25% is everything else. So if you keep those 2 things in mind, you're going to be pretty good. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
You took my agenda.
That's the last one, but
Okay, a couple of really quick things. We do have the clubs at the Mountain House Community Service District office through from the RAT program. Now, there is only 10 types of vehicles that qualify for the free clubs. And we do have the list at the Community Services District, so either call or stop by the office. We can let you know if your vehicle is on the list. It's mostly the older vehicles before they started putting all of the controls for theft, all the anti-theft controls. So I think they're mostly in the 90s or 80s. But if you have one of those vehicles you're interested, give us a call and we'll let you know. Also, one last thing, when you get those suspicious people, if you are tied to those things that we have in our pockets, like so many people I see in your hands right now, called smartphones, you can text to CRIMES, the first word in your text message, SJSO space, and then whatever you want to say, it immediately goes over to the Sheriff's Dispatch Center. So if you're one of those, then you're out jogging and you can't figure out how to use the cell phone to phone 911 and you have to text, you can do that now. So just to let you know, that's an option for you. If you have any other questions, staff is going to stay around, our elected officials, some of them are still here. Dave will stay here, our public safety people are here, and thank you very, very much for coming out.